Okay, so 2018, July. 8 years ago. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, so it's July 2018. I just started the LLC, and everybody's telling me not to do it. So that's the first sign that you're probably crazy, or a little bit crazy, that everybody in your circle is like, no, just go find another optometry job. Like, that's what you went to school for, and blah, blah, blah. In my head, I was like, I can't do that stuff anymore. I can't work for anybody. Like, I can't do that. So I started doing some research. I started figuring out like what companies are out there, what do these companies do within the sports vision space? Is this a real like thriving community? Is this a viable way to generate revenue? Is this something that like the market's ready for? So I had to do all this research, and then I had to sit and think like, okay, as a athlete, as an optometrist, how do I create an evaluation that an athlete would actually want to do versus just like a glasses and contact lens exam? So that led me down a whole other path of like opening up optometry books that I had shut for 10 years, and figuring out different versions of the drills, and figuring out different versions of the testing, and what testing did I learn? Maybe there was like a test that I was like, oh, we briefly learned about that for 5 minutes in this one class, but that's an important system for an athlete. Or so I had to think through all of this, and that was probably like the first 3 to 4 months where I was like not actively working and actually like doing research and trying to figure all of this stuff out. So I found out that there's a company called Synaptech. There's another company called FitLight. There's another company, you know, there's all these different companies that are out there doing like fragmented pieces of this stuff. And so for the first 3 or 4 months, it was like working to figure out like how does each of these pieces that I'm gonna build or buy and purchase and put together, how do all of these work together to create a evaluation that is for athletes without just spending $100,000, because that's what the equipment is out there is saying to do. So that was like I said, the first 3 to 4 months, and then I get my first like real opportunity to do some evaluations. Like I'd probably done like 2 or 3 months of family members, like, hey, let's go to the gym. We were at Hancock Wellness Center, which is like a gym in our area that we remember at, and I would just bring like friends to there to do an evaluation or to like try and work on some of this stuff and see like how does this actual machine function, and what kind of information am I getting from this, and trying to put together all these like little pieces and then trying to build the broader picture. So I've probably done like 7 or 8 examinations or evaluations for free. And actually, Jordan was one of like the first original subset. So Jordan works for us. He was one of the first original subsets of like maybe the first 10 people who I did an evaluation on. Because I played volleyball with his dad like once a week for like a year, and then found out that his son plays volleyball, and he had like 2 boys and a girl, and I was like, do you mind if I like do evaluations on them? And he was like, yeah, sure, come on over. So I brought all my stuff over to Jordan's house and did an evaluation on him, like in his kitchen. Brought this huge, like, remember the big giant bag? I brought this giant bag over, it had everything in it. So it was really me like just winging it, building the plane as I was starting to fly it, right? Like that was basically me having like the wheels to start building the plane. So I do this for a couple months, and then one of my neighbors used to race professionally, and he's like, hey, I have a guy that I'm gonna connect you with who has access to some like pretty high level drivers. Cool. I'd never watched a race in my life, had no idea like even any language or terminology around like what IndyCar drivers do or karting guys do or NASCAR does. And so he connected us. He's like, yeah, why don't you come over? We'll let you do evaluations on these guys, and we'll let you do that. So I go do evaluations on probably like 8 or 9 guys in the fall of the 2018, and then I like went home and I was like, I wonder who these guys are. And it was like some of the biggest names in IndyCar at the time, and I was kind of blown away because it was probably better that I didn't know that they were so like high up in the IndyCar space, because had I known, I probably would have been way more nervous and probably had more of like a like fangirl type of reaction, but I didn't, because I just went in and I was like, okay, this is what I do, this is how I'm doing it, and blah, 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 blah. And so I went home, did all the evaluations, and then eventually I started like training some of them. Again, not well. I started like making stuff up as I was going in, trying to figure out like, how would this drill work? How would this drill work? What's something I'd seen on Instagram? What's like, how do I do a ball drill and have them work on different stuff? And like, really, it was really just trying to make up stuff and see what sticks. And we did that probably for 3 or 4 months as I was like still working at a private practice optometry job at Costco. And so I was doing Costco for 4 days a week and then doing sports vision for 3. And then I was like doing this half and half and half and half, and trying to still make money to provide for my family, but then also trying to build the business and this stuff. And that was pretty much the rest of 18 and then into 2019. So into 2019, still doing kind of the 50-50, actually it's probably like 80-20. It's probably like 80 private practice and then 20 was sports vision. And this is still like deep into research, deep into figuring out the eval, deep into the training process. And then I met Brian Clark and Jeff Peterson at a coffee shop in late 2019. And they were opening up a D1 facility. D1's like a D1 training. It's like a giant room. It's a franchise training facility over in Noblesville. And I met them at a coffee shop and was telling them my big ideas and my plans and what I did and how impressive I was at the time. And they were like, this sounds great. We should probably have you come and we'll have you be a tenant in our building, and we'll feed you clients, and we'll all work together and it'll be perfect. Cool. So we get this started, and then we're set to open in March of 2020. Does anyone remember what happened then? So we were like a few weeks away from opening, and COVID hits. Well, you know, so COVID hits. I remember being in the optometry office over at Costco, and I was like, oh, this is like a serious thing. I remember like, what was it, Rudy Gobert, who was like the first like confirmed like big person that got it.
Rudy and Donovan Mitchell both got it at that conference, and then they canceled the NBA for the...
And then like a day later, the world shut down. Like everybody was like, what is this? What's happening? And so then it was what, 13 weeks of like complete shutdown. And instead of just like watching movies or playing video games or like just chilling, well, and actually also in 2019 we had my son Asher, and so he was like 9 months old by the time that March had hit. And so he was just learning to walk. So like he like learned to walk during COVID. But in this 13 weeks, I buried myself in the basement of my house and put together Aries Academy. And that was like, I don't even know how many hours. It was this times however many hours are in a waking day. Because I was like down there, I was like I had like Post-its all over the walls. I had written down a drill and then a variation of the drill, and then that drill, like what I would have to do in order to incorporate that, what equipment I needed for that, what blah, 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 blah. So when I say Aries Academy, I mean like our at-home training program, because nobody knew if we were going back to regular life ever again, or if this was now like everyone's just kind of a prisoner in their house. And so I was like, okay, well, if I can't do training in person, how do we do it remotely? how do we build this thing out, right? And so I spent weeks upon weeks making instructionals and creating videos, and I mean, the amount of time I spent doing that stuff is insane. So we come out of COVID, and then we actually opened our first office in 2020 in August at the D1. So everything like got finished during COVID, and then I think Indiana opened up kind of early, if I remember right, versus like all the rest of the blue states. And I remember like we started going with masks, and we had to like socially distant, and we had to, you know, I remember like buying Aries Elite Sports Vision masks and like trying to like all of that. So needless to say, so new facility. So we'll sort out the problems. So brand new facility. New way of doing sports vision. And COVID. Not the best way to start a business or to like open up a new office and learn and like generate revenue. Nobody's gonna come in, nobody knows that you're there, and nobody knows what the hell I'm doing. Needless to say, that was a struggle, struggle bus. So, January 21, I remember looking at my bank account. Oh, also, I should say, in order to get anybody to do what I was doing, I had to do it for free. Because otherwise nobody's gonna pay me to do something I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I was working corporate, or I was working like Costco still. And I was doing that again 4 days a week. And then in my other days, I was doing D1 at like 3 days a week. And I'm doing this all for free because the value that I got in learning and figuring this stuff out while not feeling guilty about charging somebody hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars for my services, I think is the return of experience. So the price that I paid was my time and energy and knowledge, and the thing that they paid was allowing me to fumble through and look like an idiot for most of 2020 and 2021, which I thought was a fair trade. Because I had to learn the things, I had to cut stuff out, I had to become real efficient with the things that I was running, why I was running them, what did this tech do, why is this tech here. We tried everything. There was a pilot that Neuroline wanted us to be a part of. They sent us a headset. It was this janky ass set, and it was like they wanted to charge me like $40,000 for it. I'm like, no, I don't know. It didn't work very well. It didn't give a good output. Didn't give a good input. I struggled like making sense of it. I'm not trying to shit on Neuroline. I'm just saying like I had to figure out what each of these things that were available were and how they would help the business. So I remember in, what was it, February of 21, I had 87 cents in my bank account. I remember sitting there thinking, well, this fucking failed. I was sitting in the room by myself. I had bills on the desk, and I looked at the bank account, and it was 87 cents. I was like, I can't do this I can't do this anymore. I want to do this. I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like every day I was saying, okay, I probably should fold it up, and I should probably quit. I can't do this. Nobody's paying me. Nobody values what I'm doing. Nobody sees the future that I see. Nobody like understands what I'm trying to do or accomplish here. And so I sat and I remember just being so depressed at myself, because I was like, I really tried. Like I I wasn't afraid of failing. I remember feeling that feeling, like I wasn't afraid of failing, but I remember feeling like a failure. And again, it was one of those, like, it wasn't like a divine intervention. It was like, I just recalled the thing from the Crossroads Great Banquet. And then, I shit you not, 3 days later, we ended up getting approved for a PPP loan for like $27,000. And I was like, okay. I'll keep doing it. I was really at the point of like, I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. It's so stressful. It's like, it makes me question everything. It makes me like not feel like a good husband. It makes me feel like not a good dad. It makes me feel like all these really bad feelings. And when that happened, I took it as a sign of like, no, I told you I was gonna take care of you. Keep going. Like, you're meant to do bigger things. Keep going. I'll help you. I'm gonna get freaking emotional again.
You need to pause.
No.
Got your call. Go.
So I remember like sitting there after I'd gotten approved for that and feeling like, okay, we can do this. And then I took that, and then I started charging people. I said, okay, this is what my services are worth now. Okay, now I gotta figure out how much money do I charge somebody? What is the evaluation worth? I started out at $149, which is like a regular general eye exam is like $110, right? But mine was taking me an hour and a half. So 90 minutes. This takes 12 minutes. So value prop was insane, but I still couldn't give it away. Like, I couldn't give it away at this point, because again, nobody understood or saw what I was doing. Nobody valued what I was doing yet, until I got real clear and I was like, okay, no, I'm just taking money and we're gonna do this the right way and figure it out. And then, then things kind of started to shift a little bit. Like, I got a couple clients. I got a couple more referrals. People started to like see the results that I had been giving away for 2 years. They're like, yeah, I actually feel like I'm getting better. I feel faster. I feel all these things. And so I needed help. I needed somebody to like manage the finances. I needed somebody who I could trust. I needed something additional in like early 21. And I ended up bringing my brother on as CFO, COO, and I gave him 20% of the company. I said, if we're gonna do this, like, I want you to be a part of it. I want you to help me out. I don't know what this is gonna turn into. Like, this is you just taking a shot and like dedicating spare time if you have it. And he agreed. And so we started doing this stuff. And so he helped me put a structure around things. He helped me figure out how to keep track of the data. He helped me how to clean up the information. He helped me like really get structured. And then he helped set up the financial structure that we use, and cost of services and pricing and all these things that I like can't do and struggle with still to this day. And so, okay, so things are starting to turn around. We took the 27, we're making a little bit of money. And I think that year we made like $35,000 or $40,000 total, the whole year. Whereas like first year we were like -15, and then we went to like -2, and then we did like some growth because I had to buy equipment, I had to do other things. And so, okay, so that's going okay, and I have maybe 10 clients, some of which are still free, some of which are paying. And in so that kind of continues to kind of like that kind. I still wasn't paying myself anything. I was literally just taking this money and reinvesting it back into the business as much as I possibly could. And then in 22, a young buck named Jordan said, well, actually came to my house, he was doing a different business with his dad, and they actually came to the house and he heard what I was doing and he was like, ooh, that's cool, I like that. and he was just getting done with school, because remember, he had come to us in like 2018, like early 2018, and then he went all the way through school as I'm drowning. Here's me. Here's the waves. Drowning.
I was drowning too.
Jordan was drinking and having fun and partying at IU. No, just kidding. And so then Jordan's like, I like what you're doing. I'll come on. And I was like, I don't have no money to pay you yet. He was like, okay, we'll figure something out. And so Jordan was the first like person that's like, hey, I'm gonna take a shot on this guy because I think that this is super cool, and I'm young and it's time to make mistakes, and I can sacrifice some of this stuff. And for that, I will always be thankful for Jordan. And on Saturday is actually Jordan's 4-year anniversary.
Yay!
I got something, but I'll give it to you later.
Nice.
I haven't finished the card. All right.
Okay.
Cried.
That's
Tears dripping on it.
I said too much emotions today.
There was tears dripping on it, and I couldn't get done with it. And so Jordan took a shot on me, and Aries, and Chris, and we started like continuing to build all of these things. Jordan was my right-hand man, and we were at the IMS one time, and we had done, I think we were working in Canva doing a whole bunch of stuff. And it was like, you've done 10,000 PNG files. And it was like, oh God, that is a lot. That was a lot at that time. We did so much, like,
we did so much Canva things.
So much stuff. But so that really rounded out 22. And then like, we were just building, heads down, building, training, like figuring out drills, figuring out this. And that was all at the other office. I'll pause it real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2022 ended. I think we did maybe like 55,000, if that. I don't know why the numbers matter. I think in my head it's like here's where we started. This is 0, and it's like this is how we started, and then like kind of like, oh, okay, we're making some money, like, but our profit, I don't know why that matters, but it just in my head it's like those are benchmarks because I earned every single penny of that, and so I think that's why like maybe then the numbers matter at that point. So anyways, from now on the numbers don't matter after this point. Just that we're growing. We're doing things better. We're doing things as a team. I have somebody to do some of the things that like we're taking up just huge chunks of my time. He's happy to do it. Like we're really working well together as a team. We're figuring out a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of different systems. We're figuring out marketing. We're figuring out finances. We're figuring out organizational stuff. We're figuring all these things. And then we get an opportunity to move or to like open a secondary location. We probably didn't have any right to open a second location. We were not at capacity or any reason to feel like we were second location worthy, but we did it. And it ended up being the best move that we could have done in hindsight, because when we opened the second location over here in Carmel, where we're at right now, 2 things happened. Initially, I was splitting my time between the 2 offices. So Jordan was doing time at the D1, and then I was like over here getting things set up and trying to run evals, and then we'd go over there and do evals. And then people who were over there who lived closer to here were doing sessions here. It was just more convenient for them. And we probably brought 3/4 of the people who were over there over to here into this office. And we had seen over a couple of months that like, oh man, the numbers from one office to the other office is staggering difference. It was like 6x here to 1x there. So 23 kind of like putters on, right? Like, so we're split between, so we opened here in March, and then like I said, the numbers at Carmel were like 6x, and then D1 was like 1x, right? So I had to make a decision, like, is my time worth splitting and going to this one any longer? When they weren't referring anybody in, they weren't even like doing well themselves, like there was nobody ever in there, versus this one, which is like, It had like a cool concept, it had a cool location, it was like in Carmel, which is literally voted the best city in the United States and has the best sports high school program in the state, or in the country. So it makes sense for us to like focus in and key in on this one. So we made the decision in like October, November of 23 to close this guy down. Then I find out in like December that office, that D1 was gonna close down completely anyways. They didn't tell me about it or anything. I actually had a gut feeling that like when we closed it, like I'm like, this is not a good situation. Like the owners never came in, nobody was doing anything there, and I'm just like there struggling. I'm like, why am I here? Why are we here? And so then I was like, I'm gonna close it down. And so that closed down, and then we moved into to Elemental in Carmel, full time at 24. And that's where we're moving it for right now. So full time at 24.